Good day, boys and girls. This is Mr. Grant here to give you a few tips on starting watercolor. First thing is materials. This paint I wouldn't recommend because of the case. I would much more recommend that you guys purchase one of these paints. If you can't see very well, the trays here are very shallow. The trays here can be replaced. They're removable. If you have the ability to get these, this is a Prang. I think Crayola does a pretty good job too. See how they pop out. The paints are much deeper in there. So quality-wise, this is better because you can mix on a white surface. You can't mix on a blue surface. Next thing, the brushes. This is what comes with the painting set. These are terrible, terrible brushes. You can't even use this with paint. Ditch that out. And this is going to be your most expensive purchase, is to purchase a TAKLON brush from Michael's or Walmart. They look like this. Without this, you really can't paint. The last thing is paper. You can't use printer paper to paint on. You need to use the sketchbook paper, and I'm planning to get sketchbooks for people. So that would be my next recommendation. Make sure you have the right paint, the right brush, and the right paper, just at the basic level. I also have a few watercolor alternatives. So one would be to just use washable markers at home on that mixed media paper, and if you add water, it'll do the same thing as paint. Another one is Tempera Cakes. Tempera Cakes initially might be a little more expensive to order, but they're much harder, they're easier to clean, they last longer, and they're just really great for beginner students. They're just not as rich and saturated as real watercolor paint. Okay, if you would like to upgrade, there's a couple things I would highly recommend. A fine tip Sharpie, a spray bottle. You can get these at Walmart for 99 cents in the travel section. I have a little different one. That's what I use with my kids at school. And on Amazon, I've had these donated. I've given a few out, but you can buy a pack of these watercolor brushes that are filled with water inside the handle. You can untwist them backwards and refill them. I would highly recommend that if you would like to travel with a brush and you do art at home. That's a hobby of yours. A couple more painting tips. Number one, put your name on your paper. First thing, where does it go? At the top. You can put it on the top or on the back. That's always our first thing to do. Second thing, from the last video, activate your paints. Get them wet with either the spray bottle, that's what this is useful for, or you can use this on your paper, or with your water bucket. Okay, that's tip 2. Activate your paint. Activate. Tip 3, use 2 water buckets, and I'll show you why in just a second. Tip 4 is how to clean out the paints. These paints look pretty clean, but in the last video I showed you how to squeeze your brush and then use the brush as a sponge to suck up the dirty paint from the last student. Cleans it right out, makes it nice and brand new. Okay, you can do the same thing over here on your tray, or you can use your paper towel on the tray part so you have clean mixing surfaces. Okay, next tip, if you haven't noticed, I got 2 water buckets. One is to wash my dirty water off from my brush, and the second is to use clean water for my paper so my paper doesn't get muddy. That's a professional tip. Or 5, the next one, remember guys, no tapping your brush and splattering paint on everybody's artworks. It causes arguments, and just to slide the water off. One of the problems I have here is with students is they press too hard with these hard bristle brushes like the TAKLON brush. And as you can see, that one looks pretty good for watercolor. This is way too dark. And when they do this, you'll see when it dries that this is so much paint on here that it'll dry shiny like this. That means they've pressed way too hard and are using up the entire paint supply of my paint and kind of ruining the paint and ruining their artwork by using that much. That is way too dark, and it's not always their faults because they don't realize this brush is stiff and hard and that the paint is super soft, and this will color the entire paper if you want to watch. So I'm going to rinse my brush off, and I'm going to choose another brush like the filbert or the flat, either one's fine. And let me show you what happens when I just add just water to this. Look at that. That's still super dark. That could fill up the entire paper with that color. So again, when I say be gentle with your paints, I mean be gentle. Notice I'm not using any paint. I have not touched the paint once. I'm only using water. And watch how beautiful that is as the water flows. That's the one thing I really like about watercolor painting, is that you don't control it. It's just like having kids or teaching. You really just try to set up the right boundaries. You try to introduce the mystery of it, and you watch what it does. You don't try to control it and paint everything in equally the same. That's one of the secrets to abstract art, is allowing it to be out of your control.